Welcome everyone, Destrie here from DestrieMonis.com, where I empower creative entrepreneurs to use simple online marketing moves in order to create a freestyle lifestyle. So today we have a special guest, Murray Ansell, here on the line with us from LifeEnergyCoaching.com to share with us how we can unlock our inner entrepreneur and to transition from the employee mindset to an entrepreneur mindset. So welcome, Murray. Thank you for coming on this webinar today.
Thank you, Destrie. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So tell us a little bit about your backstory, Murray.
All right. Well, I grew up in the beautiful, very isolated and quiet and lovely New Zealand. Spent half my life there so far. But in my late 20s, having been in accounting and investment banking and commercial banking, I wanted to expand my life, really. It's a beautiful country, but it's real quiet down there. So set off on some overseas trips, and after a series of very sort of circuitous and serendipitous events, to cut the long story much shorter, I ended up proposing to a beautiful young lady who I'd met on my travels in Los Angeles, and then within the year we were married and living over here. So at that point I needed to figure out how to make myself useful to the extent that others would pay me for my services. And so I thought, well, I could do some consulting work, and so I decided to do that. I set up as a consultant over here, helping Australian and New Zealand businesses to get their products into this country, and then that evolved into being learning about technology licensing, and so within about 3 years that had evolved into that, and then in about '96 I started a company called Think USA, which was based around a process called turnkey licensing, which was a unique method of commercializing inventions and new products in this market from overseas. So that I did that for about 10 years, but in the last couple of years something happened that really changed my life completely. It was felt like a kick in the guts at the time, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So I should probably go into that story, I suppose, because that's really the transition into what we're talking about today.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about your transition from an employee. I believe your background was working in international accounting as well as investment banking.
Yeah. So
a full-blown entrepreneur. How did you make that transition?
Well, as I was saying, I made it out of necessity, because when I came to the US, I'd been in banking over in New Zealand. But I came in the early 90s, and in the early 90s, none of your audience probably were barely born in the early 90s, if at all. But the economy in California, this was like the first time in living memory that the property market had crashed, and banks were really scrambling over here, and there were hiring freezes all around, and so some guy who came out of banking in a backwater country like New Zealand wasn't exactly top of their hiring list. So that's why I needed to get innovative. And so I felt ready to start my own business. So I started into that, and it was exciting, very exciting. And I picked up clients through relationships with government trade development offices over here. I did visit back there from time to time, but what I found was that as I was developing my expertise and I was making connections over here for these companies, that there was always something that would seem to just sort of snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And that happened over a period of time, three major occasions. And the third major occasion was what I was getting to before, when I'd been working with this company. They had a really good product, I had connected initially with the inventor of the product and was applying this turnkey licensing approach with him. And to make that work, we needed to have an investor involved because there was some product design that was needed, and we were going to set up a manufacturing in Asia. And so, and this is not easy to do, to bring investors to companies. But I managed to do that for him. So that was highly valuable. And then over a period of, it took about somewhere between 2 or 3 years, and at the end of all of that, I'd gotten the product through a distributor that we brought over here into Linen and Things, who now not around, but they were Bed Bath & Beyond's biggest competitor, and they had 400 big box stores around the country. And so this was the first really big launch of the product. And then just before that was about to happen, the client decided that, you know, I don't know if there's any need for Murray anymore, or Think USA anymore.
Oh,
and so they torpedoed. We had a ironclad agreement, really, but agreements are only as good as the people behind them.
Yeah, so you basically got the rug pulled out from right under you, huh, Murray? So it seems like I'm having a little bit of tech issues right now. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Murray, on why do you think people are finding themselves very unhappy and unfulfilled with what they do for work?
Well, firstly, it's good to be back. Sorry for that.
Welcome back.
Impromptu exit due to a wonderful world of Wi-Fi.
Not a problem.
Yeah, the key word that comes to mind is authenticity. The biggest misconception that people have is that they need to decide, okay, how am I going to make the most money as their number one priority? Or how am I going to make money as the number one priority? When the number one priority should be, what do I love to do? What would really make me feel juiced every moment of every day if I did this? And then figured out a way to monetize it. Because that is the big clue as to whether you're doing what you're really here to do. So I think that you remember the Secret and the law of attraction that became very, very well known and sort of popular. So the law of attraction exists, definitely does. Where the concept would be like attracts like. So what we think about, we will attract. But we need to be thinking about things that will be fulfilling for us. Now that's the difference between coming from the mind and coming from the heart and soul. And when I say heart and soul, who we are is our soul. Our mind and body is the vehicle that we're using, that the soul is using to experience itself, essentially. And it's got a plan for each and every one of us. Each plan is different and unique and magnificent. So
I did want to add something. So I love the fact that you mentioned that it's all about, finding what you love to do and then monetizing it. And, I was before you came back on here, I was sharing the story about how I was actually let go from my corporate job and started to realize that I want to be able to live a life that's more passionate rather than, go down a road that was actually laid down by my parents. I mean, my parents kind of guided me towards, becoming an engineer. And because they were immigrants, they came from the Philippines to America, I felt like I would let them down if I decided to quit school during my junior year. When I found out, I didn't realize that that's, engineering's not me, but I wanted to be able to make my parents proud. So I finished it and then started to take a different direction, a more entrepreneurial direction after I graduated. So thanks for sharing that, Murray. It's very, very, very relevant and powerful.
Well, it's at the core of everything that I do now. that when we got cut off before, I was about to go into the transition from what I used to do to what I do now.
Yeah.
And I realized that I had been working based on the pursuit of money. You know, you've got to pay your bills, you've got to support your family. And so that, and we were all conditioned into that. Males in society particularly are conditioned into that, generation after generation after generation after generation. That's been the role of the male in society. What we're seeing today is an emergence, really, is an energetic shift on this planet. It's a really a balancing up of energy if you look at it from a male and female perspective. We're living in a society that's been created by males, pretty much for males. And it's really gotten out of balance, and the energy of the planet is shifting. So that's why you're seeing more and more females emerging as coaches in the Me Too movement and this sort of thing, whereas women are starting to feel their power more. But this isn't just for women, this is for men too. So there are gifts in this shift in energy for men, and it's really about getting out of our sort of mind and body, being the strong man and the logical left brain rational thinker, and start opening. And we now have an opportunity to open up our intuition, our connectedness, our sensitivity, which we can use extremely powerfully in business.
Definitely.
So there's a movement now, and we were chatting about this just before we came online, called conscious capitalism. So these are people who are conscious capitalists, are people who have recognized that there's more to life than just what our 5 physical senses are feeding through to this processor up here. That there's a so they're becoming aware that they're spiritual beings, essentially, that they are their soul, and that love is the language of the soul, and that business has the capacity to be a massive magnifier of that love and that goodness in society. I mean, these glasses that I wear, for example, they're from a company called Warby Parker. And Warby Parker were founded, not surprisingly to me, at UC, by a UC Berkeley graduate, as was one of the founders, because they're all about, up there, they're all about teaching people to do well by doing good. So Warby Parker, for every pair of glasses they sell, they give a pair of glasses away to somebody who can't afford to get.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, like, Tom's is another one with, the shoes, the one, buy one and give one. So there are these sorts of businesses that are coming up today that are, they really touch your heart, and you really want to do business with those companies. Their energy is inspiring.
I've started to see this shift as well. Like with a lot of my entrepreneurial friends, we're coming from a place of servant leadership and wanting to be able to serve our fellow peers in order, through our passions, to be able to make an impact in the world.
Yes, well, you're onto it, and it's no accident that within days of you making your transition out of working for the man, so to speak, we happened to meet at a mixer and hit it off, and now we're doing this. So what's interesting, though, and why I do what I do, is because I had to solve a problem in my own life. I had a challenge in that business, and it was not the first time I'd had that type of challenge. And I realized that it was a pattern. And that was the first time that I had seen my life in terms of having patterns, or in this case, a self-sabotaging pattern. And I didn't want the same sort of sabotage to go on anymore in my life. So that was what turned me into this self-reflection and self-discovery phase that I've been in ever since, actually. So that was in 2003.
Wow.
very quickly, just like when you came out of your, you left your employer or they left you, you know, within days you're starting to meet the right people. Okay, that's the action of your soul. That's your soul connecting you, because the souls are all connected. We're all part of the same whole. We're all individuals, individuations, if you like, of that, what some people call God. But, you know, so God's a collective energy, source energy, whatever, spirit, whatever you want to call it. It's just myriads of individuals, or each with their own specialization, their own desires for how they'd like to contribute.
Definitely.
So, you know,
so is that what you refer to as energy alignment?
Well, that's what I refer to as synchronicity, actually. It's when you are, yes, when you are aligned, when you're getting aligned with the path that your soul wants you to be on, because your mind and your ancestors' consciousness, which gets activated through your DNA as well, so I call that your body. Your mind and body have their own ideas which aren't aligned with who you are. Your soul is what you need to align with.
Yeah, so, I actually felt that as well with transitioning from my corporate job. I was at a very low right before the couple of days before I was let go. And then once, you know, I just made the decision, okay, I'm going to go do what I'm passionate about instead of wallowing in self-pity. So let me go get to work, book as many meetup groups as I can, and then I met you.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it works. So, you know, when you make that decision for yourself, so now you're working, now you really are working for yourself in every way. You're
Absolutely.
not working for your parents, right?
Nope, not anymore.
You're not trying to please other people anymore. And the value in that is that the more you please yourself with a capital S, being your soul, the more valuable and more you contribute to everybody else in the world. So, you know, some will say, especially the ones, so relationships can start to change when you decide to just, okay, I'm going to do what I love. And then people who have basically been relying on you to fill their void or whatever, make them happy, well, might get a little miffed at that, because, you know, now they can't rely on you to be there to brighten their day. But frankly, they need to look into their own issues. That's not your responsibility.
Absolutely.
So we need to do that. So when I started, just going back to that transition point, which was fascinating, because just as when you started to meet people that were aligned with you, with your mission, I started to meet people that were aligned with mine. But I didn't think in those terms in those days. It just, these things happen. So within 24 hours, another client in that business, who didn't know what had just happened in mine and how the client had let me down and stuff, he called me up just to shoot the breeze and see what's going on, see if there's something we can help each other with. And he just started telling me about this energy, what he called energy healing tool that he'd learned, and he was helping people with their limiting beliefs and negative emotions. And when I heard him talking about limiting beliefs, I thought, wow, this is interesting. I'm just thinking about my subconscious, and I think I've got some limiting beliefs because I'm producing some pretty crappy results right here.
Absolutely. So can you tell us a little bit about your first experience with what do you call energy alignment? I just wanted to.
Yes. Well, I probably need to just take you through a few steps that happened.
Sure.
Because it was a journey. It was like Alice going through the looking glass, or down the rabbit hole, or whatever she did, but into the Wonderland. So this fellow, I asked him, well, is this something that anyone can learn? And apparently anyone could. So there was Shirley and I went to an event that weekend. Shirley's my wife, by the way, for those who don't know me. And we learned this technique, and so I thought, that's really cool. And so I can start sort of working on myself now, which I'd never done before. And then I got a coach who used this technique in her coaching, as well as another energy-related technique that some people on the line will probably know, called Reiki. It's quite well known. It's just a sending of light to people's energy fields to move remove blocks and barriers in your energy. Whole different sort of world to what I'd been
absolutely.
used to. So I coached with that person for a couple of months, and we were working on things like abundance and prosperity and money consciousness and all of this with energy. So by the end of 2 months, my business was still sort of bouncing on the seabed, not exactly looking good. Hers had started to really take off. And I thought,
It's interesting.
Yeah, something's happening here and it's powerful, but I'm just not receiving it. So then she then put me onto another approach that was energy related. And to make the long story short, through that, I learned a technique that allowed me to connect with a part of my soul, which she called the higher self. And which was really the big, well, there was that, and also something that that happened that opened up my intuition. And the combination of those two things started me on really powerfully into the journey that I'm on now. So that gave me the ability to check with my soul whether I was on the right track, to ask questions about, what am I, am I understanding this correctly? And it also opened up, remarkably, that connection gave me access to a whole different flow of consciousness. And I discovered that one of the gifts of my soul, certainly for me in this lifetime, was a thing called clear cognizance. You've probably heard of clairvoyance, people who can get flashes of insight into what's going to happen in the future. Well, that's sort of seeing spiritually. Clear cognizance is understanding, and it's a communication process. It's like you're having a conversation within your own mind, but you're actually having this conversation with, it's an interdimensional experience. Okay, so one thing that's important to understand about the soul is that it's with us in this dimension, but it's also in a whole lot of other dimensions.
Absolutely.
The soul is multidimensional. And so what I was connecting with was the 12th dimension of the soul. Souls have 12 dimensions. They exist in 12 dimensions. So here we call this the third dimension, which is very physical, and it's like the Matrix in a way, the movie.
Yeah,
where,
definitely. With Neo, I love that movie, by the way. And
yeah, awesome movie. And it was really kind of a spiritual movie in a way, in disguise. Yeah.
I do have a question for you, Murray. So how does energy alignment help others to make the transition from employee to entrepreneur?
Okay, so when you're being an employee, you need to think about the thought behind the thought when we're making choices, making decisions. It's always going to be either fear or love. Okay, so when we're working for somebody else, certainly when we maybe we go to university and we come out of university and we get a job, and because we got to pay the bills, and and have some choice in our life. We're really, I would call that, and certainly I was, really relatively unconscious living. What I would call conscious is when we're really aware of who we are and why we're here, or we're at least on the path towards learning that. So why did I go into that? What was the question again? How that applies to...
how does energy alignment help others
Yes.
who are making the transition from employee to entrepreneur?
Yes. So your power is so much more when you are in alignment with who you're here to be. And it goes back to that interdimensional aspect that I was talking about earlier. When we're being relatively unconscious and we're thinking of ourselves as a mind and a body, or just our name, or our, I'm Murray, and this is what I do, and this is who I know, and this is my relationship, and so we're thinking of ourselves in terms of our relationships and what we've done. That's not who we are, and so it's not really connected to the source, what we could call source energy, or the source of our power. In that mindset, we're getting enough energy flowing through us, and our energy can flow through us through the crown chakra here, and then through our body. But in those situations, sometimes that is closed because we're not open to our spirituality. We're not open to who we really are. We're not open to the soul's connectedness with the enormous power of love that is available to us. Thing to understand is that in terms of energy, higher frequency transforms lower frequency. So when you're connected to the highest frequencies, that's extremely transformational. So, and what you put your attention on, you know, where attention goes, energy flows.
Absolutely.
Okay. So if all you're doing is working with the energy that's within this sort of capped human body, and you're pulling that energy out of planet Earth, then you've got a limited amount of power in your intentions. And you're going to find yourself having to do a lot. So you're having to work to make things happen. So the point is, when you open up to your spiritual nature and you can open that connection to the higher frequencies and become, the more self-aware that you become, the more of that light can come in for your use.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I've personally started to experience that as well. And I guess a question for you is, you know, once you've found, you know, you've connected with that higher source energy, how has that affected your life and compared to when you were working in corporate America and, you know, doing international banking and investment banking? How did that, what was that like for you?
Okay, so there's a couple of things that's important here. Firstly, the frequency of the energy is much higher. It's if you think about from a physics point of view, the atoms become more excited, you know, and you feel more excited. There's just a passion that is constantly running through you. It's like you're being plugged into this incredibly high voltage power source that you just feel that energy and you feel that power. So that comes across to others when you're doing your work, so to speak. So there's even when you're doing the doingness part of it, where you're getting out and you're meeting people and you're offering your services, they can feel that within you and they enjoy that and they want to be around that. So you become a lot more attractive as a potential business partner or a service provider, or you know, your relationships are going to improve. But the other thing that happens, and if this happens organically, and we'll talk about this is like this looks like a problem, but there is a solution. I'm going to tell you later. So for me, what happens is that the alignment process is the reconciliation of your mind and body, and sometimes to some extent soul history, with the energy you need to be in to fulfill your soul's purpose for you in this lifetime. Okay, so it's not like flicking the switch and automatically just you're going to the races there and everything's going synchronistically. It will go synchronistically when you're thinking and you're acting in alignment with your purpose. Okay. But you won't initially know what that purpose is necessarily.
Do you think people can discover that for themselves, or do they need help through getting some guidance?
They will discover it for themselves over time, but it can take about 50 years. So good luck with that. My role in the world is to accelerate that process. So I went through the process a lot quicker than other people. It took me about 15 years. That's a long time, longer than I wanted to do it. But, you know, it was a very complex process. And what happened during that process, and I was guided through this process from the 12th dimension. Most people are not going to have that benefit. So you can imagine that, you know, when people are going through this and things are changing. So what happens is what's out of alignment comes up into your consciousness and into your energy. And if you don't have energetic help when that's going on, then there's going to be some sort of weird things going on that can be very confusing and can cause people to have a lot of fear and doubt and this sort of thing. So that's why people like me exist in the world. So what I went through was focused on a few areas. It was focused on money, all your fears around money. So lucky Murray in that regard, and business and relationships.
Awesome.
Because really the bottom line for me is to be somebody who can help people come into their soul-guided, purpose-driven businesses very quickly, very powerfully, and passionately. So all of the money and the relationship side of that was very, very important, because everything that we do in life has to do with relationships.
Absolutely.
Our relationship patterns are set early, very early in our childhood. In fact, half of our personality is developed before we're even born. That is the activation within our DNA of ancestral patterns. So it's very, so that's one thing to be aware of. And then there's the conditioning that happens, like you were talking about, where you're doing this because your previous work because you wanted to essentially please your parents. And so we're all like that. I don't think there'd be very many children in the world who didn't want to please their parents, at least at some point in their life.
Yes.
That might change at a certain point when things are, they don't agree.
Absolutely.
But there's definitely that programming within us. And so we're essentially running, our energy is flowing to things that are not aligned with who we are here to be. So those things need to be coming up and transformed. So I just want to finish this one point if I can, because it's really important. So my job was, what happened was, this working with the highest frequencies transformed my energy so that I don't have any of those triggers anymore, and my energy's flowing in alignment with my purpose. But in the process of doing that, an energy field was created that would be shareable and is shared with those that I work with, and those with Shirley and I work with actually through our life energy coaching and business energy coaching businesses. So that's the accelerator, that's the main accelerator. And then that energy field is connected to the 12th dimension. So it gives this sort of customization piece that allows people who use our products and our services to have this massive acceleration of their transformation in a way that is customized to exactly their purpose.
Absolutely.
Which is absolutely unique, I think, in the world right now. I've not heard of it anywhere else.
So, Murray, do you have a resource for other people in the freestylers community that they can connect with to get more information on how to connect with their higher self to be able to raise their frequency?
Well, the point of it is it's a complicated process that people don't really need to know how to do it. You see, our brain always wants to know how. It's this problem-solving mechanism, right? But the solutions that we provide are so easy. They allow people all you're doing, they're written materials that happen to be energy transformational tools. And so people will read a written module, like 2 to 3 pages or something like this, typically, which takes them maybe 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes to digest. And then they just get on with their life for the next week. And what happens is the information is working on it's basically switching around their conscious perceptions, given it a 180-degree switch from a mind-body perspective to a soul perspective. Okay, so it's aligning with the soul in that area of that topic area. But for the rest of the week, the energy is being worked on from the 12th dimension. So they're being aligned with that information in mind and body over the rest of the week. We have a particular tool that people can use to experience this, what can be unbelievable type of
What's that
promise
tool?
that I'm making here.
What's that tool, Murray?
Well, that is a transformational ebook called Human Energetics.
That's awesome.
So Human Energetics is awesome because, and this is just, I've been the dictator, not like Sacha Baron Cohen is the dictator, but or Putin, but I've just taken the notes basically and essentially channeled the information. But it's an ebook, a short ebook. It's only 10 to 11 pages long. And when somebody reads that, they learn about how human energy works, which is very important to understand because it's completely new information to this world. Yes, there are energy coaches out there that are helping people with their energy, but this is a really simplified version of how your energy is creating your reality.
Absolutely.
So it's just sort of 18, maybe 2 to 3 paragraph sections in here on different subject areas that's relevant. But every time somebody reads that, and they should not read it more than once a week, because it starts this energy transformation process. And the soul and the higher frequencies are combining to give you, the reader, whoever is reading, exactly what they need next in their personal development, their soul evolution, if you like, in their life. So it's going to be aligning them. It's going to be, I'll give you an example of how this can happen. One of the guys that test drove this for the first time a couple of years ago was a student. He was a university student. And he was contacting us at exactly the right time because we were about to launch this thing. And he was someone who was really, he had a high anxiety, he felt like crap. He said he was about 2 out of 10 on a scale of feeling good, if you like. And he was really, I think he was probably almost suicidal with his,
no.
He was so out of alignment and so distressed. So he was wise enough to get this, and it sells for $99 basically. At the time it was $99. So, and now it's $99 a month because you're basically hooking into an energy field that is, it's like a utility in a sense. But so he did it. He bought this thing and he read it. So he had a need, he had a real need for change, and he was willing to go to a place which was a bit unlikely for him because he was a university student and very kind of logical thinking and stuff.
Yes.
But within a couple of days, I got an email back from him raving about this, because what had happened was that he had suddenly had this epiphany. He'd read the ebook, and somewhere in the ebook, it talks about how each of the organs of our bodies have a higher purpose. We have, as a full human being, we have a higher purpose, but each of the organs have a higher purpose. And I think that it's in reference particularly to the heart and the heart's purpose of being the junction point for the soul and that sort of thing. And it made him think. And he got the idea, my body has been, doing the best it can to support me, and I've been smoking dope and cigarettes and eating junk food and not exercising. The least I could do is to actually try to reciprocate that. So then he gets on a new diet. He cuts out all those. So, but he was really unconscious before that. And this sort of opened him up. What it does is it connects you with that higher frequency consciousness. And that consciousness is also energy. So it's, the energy, which is also infinitely intelligent, basically. So it's going to, now you're connected to 2 minds, what I would call lower mind, which is really brain and body, and higher mind, which is real wisdom. And
absolutely.
Perspective that's coming from beings that know everything about you, all about your soul history, what you're trying to do in this lifetime, all the stuff you don't know as a human being.
Yes, Murray, absolutely. Well, we're actually getting towards the top of the hour, Murray, but I do want to let you know, like, so where, if people wanted to find out more about your content and services, where would they check you out?
Okay, well, we have two websites, the lifeenergycoaching.com, so lifeenergycoaching.com. That's been the hub of our business since 2005. It's where we develop and incubate and distribute our products and services. So if you want to learn more about these programs that I've been talking about, there's a programs tab there. There's also a coaching tab there.
Absolutely.
The other website, which is for, I think, more the conscious capital side of things, is businessenergycoaching.com. So that's another one. So it's either life or it's businessenergycoaching.com. And I think you have a link that you will share with respect to human energetics, because that's really the opportunity for the people today, I think, so they can test drive.
Absolutely. But before I give that information out to my audience, I just wanted to say thank you, Murray, for coming on my webinar here today. And I just wanted to acknowledge you for all of the work that you're doing with helping other people and connecting with their inner entrepreneur through energy alignment, and all of the work that you've been putting into with life energy coaching, business energy coaching, and just helping other people like me who are making that transition from employee to entrepreneur. And I just want to say thank you very much for your work in that area. And my gift to you, Murray, I know we've connected just fairly recently, but one of my gifts is to actually do videography. So I would actually love for me to be able to shoot a marketing video for your business that you'll be able to promote, to be able to connect with other people on a higher level on when they're reaching out for help with energy alignment and being able to connect with their higher self. So I just wanted to let you know, we can set that up offline, but if you guys
wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
You're welcome. And if you guys vibe with the content that Murray and I have been sharing with you guys today, I apologize for all the technical difficulties during that, but it's just the nature of being an online entrepreneur. Make sure you check out Murray's Human Energetics course at destriemonis.com/human energetics. And I just want to say thank you, Murray, for your knowledge, your passion, your expertise with sharing that with the freestylers community. And I appreciate our friendship and look forward to connecting more.
Well, thank you. And I just want to congratulate you on being completely on point with the nature of your business and following your heart, because I think you are. Certainly your business is aligned very much with the times of today and what people need to be doing. And I think you and I together offer two very valuable pieces for people who are wanting to be successful, living their dream, essentially.
Absolutely, guys. And I'd like to close with this. Till next time, guys, freestyle your lifestyle. Take care.